Chapter 1. You are listening at FameTV.info. Shenzhen, abandoned cement plant in the suburbs. Gu Shuang lay on the smelly ground, and blood kept overflowing from under him. Her abdomen is high and swollen. She has been pregnant for 7 months. Gu Qingzi stepped on Gu Shuang /s belly and the pointed heels of high heels, deliberately grinding her navel. Sister, my good sister, you can die at ease. I will remember to burn more paper money for you on Qingming Festival to ensure that you can be a rich ghost when you get to Jiuquan. Gu Qingzi laughed and her heavily made-up face was full of satisfaction. Gu Shuang/s eyes were half narrowed and had reached the state of dying. She stared at Chen Haran with her last strength and asked angrily, Chen Haran, have you ever loved me? Gu Qingzi smiled more proudly, when death is coming, what else do you want to love? Brother Haran, tell this bitch whether you have loved her or not. Don/T let her die and can/T close her eyes. Chen Haran hugged Gu Qingzi/s waist with one hand and pinched her chin with the other, and immediately gave a hot kiss that he licked Gu Qingzi/s earlobe and chanted heartlessly. It/s just a fool/s rotten goods. It/s rigid and boring. Where can it compare with my little heart? Gu Qingzi responded enthusiastically. After a while, they rolled into a ball. Gu Shuang seemed to be strangled by his neck, breathing hard, staring at the boss, and his throat was panting like a dying trapped animal. The door slammed open and a ragged young man stumbled in. Su Muzhou saw Gu Shuang covered with blood at a glance and rushed to pick her up. Gu Shuang/s consciousness was confused. She stared blankly at the void and couldn't/t see Su Muzhou/s face at all. I hate. Die. 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 The hoarse roar was weak and full of hate. Su Muzhou followed Gu Shuang/s fingers and saw Chen Haran and Gu Qingzi doing that thing naked. He picked up a stick, shouted and rushed over and hit them mindlessly. Gu Shuang/s breath became weaker and weaker, but his consciousness suddenly woke up. She felt something pulling away from her body and drifting upward. She could see that her body was lying on the ground, full of blood, and her eyes were staring at the boss. Su Muzhou wrestled with Chen Haran and Gu Qingzi, and was hit in the back of the head by Chen Haran. Su Muzhou shook, fell down, and climbed hard to Gu Shuang/s body. He hugged her and murmured, Shuang is not afraid. Ah Zhou is coming. Ah Zhou protects you. Chen Haran picked up the stick and walked towards Su Muzhou with a grim smile. Oh, this fool is really infatuated. Well, I/LL give you a ride on the Huangquan road and let you two be partners. No. Don/T. Gu Shuang exclaimed, fiercely opened his eyes and gasped that as far as the eye can see, it is a spacious bedroom. On the 4 walls, there are more than 10 wedding photos, large and small. The man in the photo has a bright smile and carved facial features. Each line seems to have been carefully designed by a famous craftsman, and can/T pick out half of the defects, but those eyes, without any brilliance, were chaotic, like covered with a thick layer of ash. Gu Shuang was stunned, stood up and walked to the door handle can/T be turned. It/s a special lock. It/s locked from the outside, she. Reborn. Gu Shuang was stunned and suddenly ran to the window and opened the gorgeous curtains. Under the window, there are roses more than 10 meters wide. The leaves are trimmed sparsely, and the thick branches are covered with spikes. She was really reborn, back when she was just with Su Muzhou. Su Muzhou is the only son of the Su family, the richest man in Shenzhen. He is a real prince. However, the prince, who has a perfect appearance and a prominent family background, is a fool. His IQ stays at the stage of a 4 or 5-year-old child. He is violent, capricious and arrogant. He is simply an enhanced bear child who is afraid of others. Gu Shuang met Su Muzhou at the amusement park. That day was the first anniversary of her love with Chen Haran. Gu Shuang wants to play bumper cars. Chen Haoran is too childish to accompany him. Gu Shuang is angry and plays 5 at a time. The bumper car venue is basically children. Gu Shuang is embarrassed to bully the children and chases Su Muzhou all the way. The next day, the Su family sent someone to propose marriage. At that time, Gu was experiencing a financial crisis. In order to climb the towering tree of the Su family, Gu Jingfeng sent Gu Shuang to the Su family that night. Gu Shuang deeply loved Chen Haoran and vowed not to obey. The Su family locked her up. In order to prevent her from jumping out of the window and escaping, they also planted a full moon season under the window. Gu Shuang suddenly smiled. Even God thought she was too weak in her last life and gave her a chance to do it again. Since I live again, those blood debts must be calculated clearly. Gu Shuang doesn't /t know when it is and whether she has married Su Muzhou. Thinking of Su Muzhou /s doting on her in his last life, his heart is full of guilt. Su Muzhou really loved her. Although he was a fool, he held his most real heart in front of her and flattered her clumsily. Even after she destroyed the whole Su family and gave hundreds of millions of wealth to Chen Haoran, he was desperate to find her and finally died with her. Gu Shuang /s heart was aching. Thinking of the scene before her death, she couldn't /t stop hurting Su Muzhou, that fool. In his last life, he guarded her to death. In this life, she protected him. She owes him that. Gu Shuang lay bored. Suddenly, the door opened. Gu Qingzi trotted in, grabbed Gu Shuang /s hand, red eyes and choked. Sister, how are you? Are you okay? Gu Shuang frowned. A touch of disgust flashed across her eyes. She pulled back her hand and asked quietly, why are you here? I know you feel bad. I am afraid you can /t think about it. I ll come and see you. Gu Qingzi looked up and wanted to cry. The distressed look on her face perfectly explained what sisterhood is. Gu Shuang sneered in her heart that in her last life, she was deceived by these pitiful eyes that seemed to cry at any time. She had complete trust in her, and finally lost 1 body and 2 lives. Elder sister, Brother Haoran said, you are now the young lady of the Su family. As long as you are willing to help him, he will become the successor of the Chen family. As long as he controls the Chen group, you can be together forever. Gu Qingzi shook Gu Shuang /s hand and eagerly fanned the flames. This fool loves Chen Haoran. She will help. Once Chen Haoran becomes the successor of Chen /s group, Gu Qingzi will be Mrs. Chen, and Gu Shuang, a woman who has been slept by a fool, still wants to argue with her. Gu Shuang lowered her eyes, sighed a long sigh, and asked sadly, what /s the date today? April 15th. Gu Shuang breathed a sigh of relief. At this time, Grandpa /s Fu group has not declined significantly, and his brother Gu Lidong has not had an accident. Fortunately, everything is still in time. Gu Qingzi sneers and gloats. Gu Shuang must have been tortured by a fool. She doesn't /t even remember the date. Sister, you are now the young lady of the Su family. The Su family will certainly let you enter the company to cultivate well and take charge of the huge Su group in the future. As long as you enter the Su family, Brother Haoran will be able to stay with the Chen family. Gu Shuang glanced at her faintly and smiled. You seem to care about Chen Haoran very much. Gu Qingzi /s heart trembled and her face stiffened. She quickly explained with a smile, Sister, you love Brother Haoran so much. Of course, I hope Brother Haoran can succeed and marry you in the door. Otherwise, Brother Haoran is an illegitimate son. How can he deserve you? Really? Gu Qingzi murmured meaningfully. Gu Qingzi suddenly didn't /t dare to look at her. She always felt that there was something more in the clear eyes that could see at one glance, but if you look carefully, you can /t see any abnormality. Qingzi, I am tired. I want to rest. Sister, you have a good rest. Gu Qingzi stood up and couldn't /t help but persuade him with earnest words, sister, don /t fight against the fool and coax him well, so that the elders of the Su family can accept you and enter the Su group as soon as possible. Gu Shuang waved her hand and said faintly, I know. Gu Qingzi walked to the door and knocked. Open the door, I Miss Gu. A cruel jealousy flashed in the poor eyes, sooner or later, she will become the only young lady in the family. As for the bitch Gu Shuang, go to hell. Listen to the full novel at FameTV.info, direct link in the description.